All right, we're back for part 3. We're going to jump right into the Romantic era. I've got to divide it into 2 parts because, again, some of these listening examples are a little bit on the lengthy side. But we're going to start with, we're not going to go quite chronologically in order. We're going to take a listen to Bizet's really very famous at this point opera, Carmen. Carmen is a great representation of some of the interests in the Romantic era. One of the things that we've already heard and seen from Don Giovanni is the idea of blending aria and recitative more liberally together. And certainly, again, the end of this opera does a lot of that. In addition to that, it actually uses music in 2 kind of specific spaces. We're going to talk more about this when we talk about film music, but it definitely relates to music for stage as well. So there are 2 kinds of spaces that music can generally occupy. The first space is something we call the diegetic space. Diegetic music is music that can be heard by everyone who is on stage and in the audience. It's music that is source music, music that happens within the world of the film or the staged production. So for example, if we are watching a marching band pass through the stage and that group is making sound, that sound can be heard by everyone on stage and also, of course, the audience. There is a different kind of category of sound, and that is non-diegetic music. And that is music that is meant to underscore a particular action that's happening on screen. This is music that the characters on screen or on stage are not privy to. And it really requires a lot of kind of suspension of disbelief, especially when we're engaged in a theatrical production, in knowing that we can hear the sound and we know that the actors on stage can also hear the sounds that are going on, but that we are trying to believe that they cannot hear what is actually underscoring their particular moment. There are plenty of comedic films that deal with this exact idea of bending who can actually listen to the music at a specific time. But beyond the scope of comedy, this is a really dramatic use of diegetic and non-diegetic music, especially at the end. Before we get to the finale of the opera, I want to make sure to play the very, very iconic Habanera that is a part of the opera. I have a feeling that it's probably going to be flagged for copyright issues because it does indeed belong to the Met. If so, I will just remove it from this video and let you listen to it on its own. But the Habanera is incredibly memorable from this piece. It is an aria, which means that it is a solo, self-contained piece of music for just really one singer. In this case, there's some back and forth, some heterophonic texture between Carmen and the entire chorus. It conveys to us that she is really in command of the situation that's happening here. But in order to really appreciate what's happening in that scene, the first thing that we're going to do is watch a synopsis, like we have been, of what happens in Carmen. There are not a lot of intricate plot points here, which is kind of fun. It leaves a lot of space for some interesting musical activity to occur. So without further ado, let's go ahead and watch the synopsis of Carmen. All right, here we go, the synopsis of Carmen.
Our story begins with a girl trying to deliver a letter.
Excuse me, I'm looking for a soldier. Oh, hey, Don Jose! I've traveled a really long way and kind of inconvenienced myself to casually bring you this letter from your mother.
Dear son, it's time to get your act together. You should consider marrying Michaela. She's probably the best you can do.
What? That's crazy. I mean, I've only been dreaming about this forever. You know what? I gotta go. Yes, I'm just going to run away.
Sometime later, a seductive young lady named Carmen is arrested for starting a fight with a girl in the streets.
What? Nuh-uh, you don't know me, girl. I will beat you!
Oh, hey, officer. That wasn't what it seems. You don't have to arrest me, do you?
If I don't, I'll be the one thrown in jail.
But I'm so pretty.
Sure enough, Don Jose lets Carmen go and is thrown in jail. After a month's detention, he's released and goes to find her.
Oh, Carmen! Now that I have essentially ruined my career for you, we shall never be parted.
We're gonna watch a little bit of
Who the hell are you?
music.
I
Light
am the
motif.
handsome Miss Camillo. I'm a pretty awesome bullfighter. I have come to steal your girlfriend.
Seriously? This guy?
Hey! I found this wedding veil just in case you maybe want to try getting married!
Carmen leaves with the bullfighter, but the jealous Don Jose tracks her down just to make sure that their relationship is over.
We'll watch
He
this
confronts her
part
in front of
as
the amphitheater.
Oh, it's you.
Damn straight it's me. So it's over? Don't you love me anymore?
I really, really don't.
Well, if I can't have you, no one can!
Wait,
Ugh!
what are you doing? Hey,
I've ruined my career for you!
And there you have it. Bizet's Carmen.
All right. One of the 3 rules of opera is that if your name is in the title of the opera, you are probably going to die. So this is no exception. Oh, Don Giovanni, of course, also no exception to this rule. So Carmen indeed does die at the very end of the opera at the hands of her jealous ex-lover, Don Jose. Before we get there, we're going to see what kind of command of the stage Carmen has. She sings a very memorable and seductive habanera, which includes, it's in 4/4, simple time, but uses a kind of a little bit of a swung rhythm, which is something that we encounter a lot in jazz. It sounds very slinky. For the most part, it's either homophonic texture where she is just singing and the rest of the ensemble is accompanying her with a very strong ostinato, a repeating musical idea that creates the sort of backbone of the piece. It really tries to do just one thing and one thing alone, and that is the habanera itself. There's a little bit of back and forth, like I said, to help us interpret her as being a very commanding and demanding character. So without further ado, let's go ahead and listen to the habanera from Bizet's Carmen. All right, here we go. The very iconic habanera. I'm sure you guys will recognize this once I start playing it. Lyrics are in French, subtitles in English. In this production, the guy who's bald is Don Jose. He has another officer friend with him who is smirking about this whole prediction. Ah, wonderful. We have the choir that's in as well. Okay, so in the event that you didn't get to hear me talk over some of the elements there, we're definitely in simple time. We've got a lot of rubato that exists here. All of this plays into the how we interpret the character on stage. So she's very commanding, so much so that the entire choir responds to her when she sings something. And she also has a lot of command of the pacing of the piece, inserting lots of rubato at moments where she wants to stretch or push and pull. The rhythm here is also somewhat sensual and seductive sounding, and we have that ostinato, that very iconic ostinato that makes us know that we're listening to a habanera. It is that rhythm and that rhythmic construct is married to that particular kind of dance tradition. Great. So there are some important leitmotifs that are also used in Carmen. Leitmotif, something that we encountered with tone poems and program symphonies of the Romantic era. A leitmotif is a melody that represents a person, place, character, idea, or situation. So in later acts, so Don Jose, he ends up getting jailed so that Carmen can be free. While he is in jail, Carmen falls for a bullfighter, and that bullfighter happens to have a leitmotif. I know you know this leitmotif because it's used in a number of cartoons. So let me go ahead and find that leitmotif because it's going to play a large part in our ending scene. Hold on. All right, so what we just heard there was the leitmotif for the bullfighter. It's going to play a particularly important role because they're actually at the bullfighting event. Carmen, at this point, has moved on and she is in love with the bullfighter. So Don Jose, who has just recently been let out of jail, wants to know the status of their relationship. The last time that he talked, things were pretty good between them. So Carmen has some information to deliver to him, and all of this happens on the other side of the amphitheater. So the thing that we're going to be hearing is this interesting relationship between diegetic and non-diegetic music. The diegetic music that we hear is going to be the bullfighting music. It's going to play a particularly important role because it's going to solidify where we are, but also create some deeper metaphorical levels of what we're actually witnessing on stage. Additionally, we're going to hear non-diegetic music that people on stage are not really privy to, right? The idea of underscoring. This is sort of like how a soundtrack would act in an action film. You know, there's like a battle sequence going on. As exciting as it is to have like an orchestra, there's no orchestra on site for any of these battles. It is underscoring. It is stuff that only the audience is privy to. So let me go ahead and cue up where Don Jose confronts Carmen at on the other side of the amphitheater, and we'll carry that into the very conclusion of the opera. Hold on for a moment. Okay, here we go. Carmen's friends are warning her that her ex, Don Jose, is in the area and is kind of fixing to have a conversation with her. This is all recit. Notice that it's like a little bit more song-like that we've heard before. So again, blending aria and recit together. Diegetic music. Non-diegetic. Diegetic. Non-diegetic. Diegetic. Non-diegetic. So we're gonna stay here in non-diegetic area for a while. This is all gonna underscore the scene. Don Jose enters.
L'homme avait averti que tu n'étais pas loin, que tu devais venir. L'homme avait même dit de craindre pour ma vie. Mais je suis brave, je n'ai pas voulu fuir. Je ne menace pas, j'implore, je supplie, n'avez passé, Carmen, n'avez passé, je l'oublie. Oui, nous allons tout d'un commencer notre vie loin d'ici, sous d'autres cieux. Tu demandes l'impossible, Carmen, jamais ne mentit.
Again, notice this is much more recit-driven, being a sort of dialogue between the characters. There's still a lot of repetition, though. Don Jose doesn't really seem to understand that this is over.
Carmen, il est temps encore, oui, il est temps encore. Oh ma Carmen, laisse-moi te sauver, toi que j'adore. Laisse-moi te sauver, et me sauvera avec toi. Oh, je sais bien que cela, je sais bien que tu me tueras, mais que je vive ou que je meure, non, 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 je ne désadore pas. Carmen, il est temps encore, oui, il est temps encore. Oh ma Carmen, laisse-moi te sauver, toi que j'adore. Laisse-moi te sauver, et me sauvera avec toi.
Notice that we've slid a little bit more into like a duet without kind of noticing. The idea of creating more realistic drama on stage, having less distinction between aria and recit. Ugh, Don Jose. What a lonely statement on upon the text here. The orchestra responds with his obvious realization. So again, this is starting to be now more rested after they were done having a duet together. Ah, the music indicates to us that Don Jose is like angry at this point. Pulsating strings, the idea that we have more brass instruments that are coming to the fore. Music is also free.
Si l'est fait pour te plaire, je resterai maudit. C'est que tu voudras, ne quitte pas ma Carmen. Ah, souviens-toi du passé. Et non, non, c'est mieux, quitte pas, Carmen. Anna, me quitte pas.
Diegetic music, we hear the bullfighters. It's a victory! They're giving metaphorical commentary on Carmen's statement. Back to non-diegetic.
Sur mon âme, il ne passera pas, Carmen, c'est moi que tu suivras. Tu veux le retrouver, tu l'aimes pas.
Je l'aime de l'amour même. Je répéterai que je l'aime.
Diegetic music, it returns. Again, reinforcing that Carmen has her victory here. Non-diegetic music.
Salut de mon âme, je l'aurais perdu pour que toi, pour que tu t'en ailles infâme entre ce bras et de moi. Non parle pas, tu n'irais pas, Carmen, c'est moi que tu suivras.
Non, non, jamais.
Je suis là de te menacer.
Frappez-moi donc. Ou laissez-moi passer.
Diegetic music. Non-diegetic music.
Pour la dernière fois, demain, va-t-elle me suivre?
Non, non. Cette bague autrefois, tu me l'avais donnée. Tiens.
Eh bien, ma mère!
Diegetic music. So obviously the bullfight that we're watching is the one that's currently between Don Jose and Carmen. Here's our soda. That's a nice little bow on it.
C'est moi qui le fier. Oh, Carmen.
Awesome. Really powerful ending to Carmen, and a lot of it is due to the really inventive use of non-diegetic and diegetic music that's happening there. So again, the bullfighting music is providing some commentary on what's happening in front of us, and the real bullfight that we're witnessing is the one that's happening between Carmen and Don Jose. They have like a last tender moment together before it otherwise comes to, you know, comes to be that like they're not really going to be a thing together. And Don Jose cannot stand this and will not take no for an answer. And Carmen, resolute in wanting to be free and no one, the object of no one, if she doesn't want to be, willingly accepts death. So some very characteristic things of the Romantic era here: big expansive orchestra, some inclusion of extended techniques, not particularly new or novel ones, but like we heard some string tremolos there. The movement of the music was much more active as well, less structured in a particular time signature and more fluid, moving, and that's in order to kind of create a more realistic drama and a more immersive one. And probably one of the reasons why Romantic era opera ended up being so popular is because it was very cinematic in its kind of approach. Leitmotifs and using leitmotifs also help with aiding in that kind of feel. All right, we have two other Romantic composers to study before we go on to the 20th century. We're going to take a look at Puccini and Verdi, probably the two big Romantic Italian names in terms of opera, and then we're going to conclude our conversation talking about Bela Bartok. We've already listened to one of his string quartets in the past, so hopefully you'll find his rendition of Bluebeard's Castle to be a particularly chilling one. In any event, I will see you guys for the next part of lecture where we will continue on our discussion of the Romantic era.